So this is just going to be a really quick, impromptu would you rather sesh. I want to start us off with that. We haven't been able to travel freely as we normally would. So for travel, I would like to know, would you rather go to the beach or to the mountains?
I would rather go to the mountains.
Okay, great. And oh my God, that's such a basic question, right? It's 103 degrees here. Okay, so date nights haven't been what we would normally like them to be, I guess. So I'm going to take us to, like, imagine your date night, next date night. Would you rather go to a museum or to take a cooking class?
Ooh, that's a hard one. I will say cooking class.
Okay. And would you rather go to an Indian food restaurant or to an Italian food restaurant?
Italian food restaurant.
Okay.
One of my favorites. Yeah.
Great. Now, we're going to finish up the date night or date day. Would you rather go on an EV, like, bike city tour or on a hike to a local state park?
Hike to a local state park. Get
Nice.
closer to nature. Yeah.
Okay, so we've got your next, when things are fully opened up and you can go take this date night or date day. Like that.
Yeah, and I'll just share with you. I not cheated, but my husband and I talk about these all the time, and so I knew how to respond because we thought about it. So
yeah,
great question. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Marty, for being with us. We've got Marty Weymouth from CPS Energy, who's the interim vice president at CPS Energy, and among many great other things. And I'm actually going to hand it off to you, Marty, to kind of tell us a little bit more about all the many hats that you wear, your passion projects and such.
Absolutely. So currently, as you mentioned, I am the interim vice president at CPS Energy. My role is really around the enterprise ecosystem, all things strategy, planning, execution, and change management, ultimately enabling the organization to, help prioritize what's important to our customers, to our employees, and our community. The other role I have is I am also co-founder of I Empower Organization, 501c3. We've been in existence for 2 years, and our mission is really to help women be empowered and to foster a culture of community where they can come together, share, and really empower each other. And then lastly, my third big pillar of efforts right now, I'm pursuing my PhD in leadership. I'm entering my third year this Saturday, and super excited to start working on my dissertation. So those are the three big things in my life. Obviously, my foundation is my values, my faith, and my family. And those just are, part of who I am.
Thank you so much, Marty. I'm so honored to be speaking with you, and congratulations for completing the halfway mark.
Yes, thank you.
On your doctorate.
I'm super excited about that. When I finished that last semester, I said halfway done, and then when I start this semester, I can start saying 1 year and 11 months left, etc., and it just continue to count down. But I'm super excited. Thank you.
You're welcome. So we have been, for the last 6 months, dealing with a global health pandemic, and also here in our country, a national social justice movement against institutionalized and systemic racism. And at CPS Energy, I know that a core value is people first. And so I wanted to ask you, what does that mean now in this environment during this challenging time? What meaning has people first taken on at CPS Energy?
That's a great question. I think people first has always been in our fabric, in our thread for everything that we do, and customers are people, our employees and our community, and everything that we do. It's about the experience and making sure that we provide value. So it's no different that we do that same approach through COVID and through these social justice environments. And so what it does, it just continues to elevate the importance of relationships, the importance of empathy, and really understanding how is this impacting our customer community and employees. So again, it's not, nothing has changed in terms of how we lead. I think it reinforces the value of our lens of thinking that way first, and designing our structure and how we think around people. That I think has been, it has been proven that it's the right path to do. It's the right thing to do. And so with COVID-19, it's about keeping everyone safe. It's a people, right? It's a people-centric situation. And so, how do we keep them safe and well until there's a vaccine, and still be able to produce the value we need for our community? We still have to produce energy solutions, right? Otherwise, we wouldn't be having this conversation. So we have to be very creative and thoughtful about how do we protect our people to be able to deliver solutions. On the social front, I think that's how we live every day. So we practice that a lot at CPS Energy. So it's very natural. When you see it out there, it's concerning, but my hope is that we each reflect and learn from it and make this place a better place by demonstrating those qualities. What is the right thing to do, one person at a time? And so we just have to be able to perpetuate that way of being throughout, and show others, and hopefully they, through us, learn what is the right thing to do.
Thank you, Marty. I want to share with you that here at Zpryme, we have looked to CPS Energy as an example, and aim to follow that example in being a people-first company. And you mentioned it's your people, that the employees, but also your customers and the community, and really anyone that we interact with. So thank you for that example. So we're working from home. You're working at home. I like the heart on your wall back there. I'm working from home, and we're both women, and we're reading it, we're hearing it, that working from home, this new way of existing, is having a disproportionately negative effect on women. So how can we help women feel empowered and supported?
That's a great question, and I will tell you, I've personally seen through virtual connections with my team and even with friends that they're having multiple roles, and so I'm sure a lot of people out there are experiencing the same thing. And what I mean is, they're participating in work like they should be, but at the same time they got to queue up and help their child do school, and also, oh, by the way, I got to take care of the home, and there's some multiple dimensions of that have been added since COVID. And in many cases, people forget, sometimes the parents live there as well. And so you have another layer of making sure that they remain safe and connected and part of the family. So it's a very tough situation to be in. And what I have found with people first is that we have to be aware, number one, that that's happening, and be empathetic around that situation's happening. And I happen to say literally, hey, if you need to take some time, I know you're multitasking, don't worry if the kids show up in the background during a meeting. Don't worry about that. I know that you're going to have distractions because of what's happening in the environment. So we have to empathize and make it safe and okay for that to happen. Mm-hmm. You just have to provide that kind of environment where they feel comfortable, and you lower their stress, because you know how hard they try to make sure that they're doing their best, and there's things they can't control all the time. So that's important in leadership, is to be aware of your employees and who your friends. What are the conditions? You don't have to know everything, but be empathetic about their conditions. Even if you're single, that's mm-hmm. huge, because you may not be able to interact as much as you typically would. And so what's the impact on that individual? So everybody's situation is different, and it's just important to be mindful of where they are and meet them where they are, so that they can still be productive and feel valued and connected. Does that make sense?
Yes. And so you mentioned the role that leadership plays in helping women know that it's okay if your 3-year-old bombs your video chat. It's okay if, you need to get up and go get him a snack. I'm speaking from my personal life here. But how does leadership communicate that? Like I guess, can you give me a picture of what that looks like, so that, if as a woman working at CPS Energy, what kind of communication would I be receiving to know and remember, right? Because we can hear that, but then we may not actually feel like we can embody that. So how does that work?
Yeah, it's one thing to say it, and then how do you demonstrate that and cascade that down to other leaders? It starts at the top. We have our Paula Go Williams is our president and CEO, and she meets with the leadership frequently, and we talk about these situations. This conversation, this topic has come up, and so that we talk about the different environments our employees are in, and how do we help them navigate through this journey together. And so it starts at the top. And so she demonstrates that, and then, for me personally, yes, I'm an empty nester, but I have teams that have everything I just described, from kids to parents to single, all those things. And part of doing that is telling them. So I literally tell my team when we have our huddles, and we have huddles on a regular basis, hey, remember, if you need to step away or you need to disconnect, do it. And I see the kids all the time. I love it. I love seeing the kids in the background. To me, it's I love seeing them, number one, but number two, it's just kind of the norm right now, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And so you have to provide that safety environment. I mean, truly, you have to be empathetic and be authentic about telling those things, not just for sake of telling them, but actually having them feel comfortable. And so you have to, and then I tell my team, my directors the same thing, and they cascade that down. So that's how it starts at the top, and you have to be able to demonstrate that empathy and authenticity to share with your employees. It's okay.
How is working from home impacting your team?
My team, I think, they're all very different, very diverse team in terms of their situation at home, but also how they like to work. I have some introverts, I have some extroverts, and they share with me, oh my God, I miss interacting with you and with others and being able to walk to their cubicle and have a conversation. And so what I've learned for myself, I'm an introvert, but I can manage the extrovertness when you have to. But there comes a point where you can feel lonely and you can feel depressed because you're not around people, and that's so real. I don't care where you are in the spectrum of professionalism or what your role is. It's a very human centric feeling, and so we all feel it in pockets. And so the key is to be aware. If you catch yourself in that moment, it's okay. You've got to give yourself permission. It's okay to feel that way, and start thinking about why. And maybe you can change your mindset to help you get back on track. But I say that because everybody goes through it, and some people don't like to talk about it or are not comfortable talking about it. I am, and it's really, how do I get out of that funk? And so just want to say that out loud to everybody. We all go through it, and how do we find ways to renew and get out of that thinking? But we all go through it, including myself. So encourage everyone to read or to find ways to think differently, but it's okay to feel that way, and don't feel like it's just you. We all going through that right now, because we're going through something that we've never done before for a long period of time. This is new for everybody, and we're human, and it's okay. So just want to make sure that everybody understands that they're not the only ones. And I'll raise my hand, the first one to say, yeah, there's times I feel like, it's lonely or it's depressing because I don't get to interact with people. But then I start doing other things. I connect with my family, my husband, my children. And, you revive yourself and remind yourself of the purpose and the value and why you are here. And then it changes your mindset, and you're feeling better. But it's going to happen. It's almost inevitable. So.
Yeah, and I think, this whole experience has been a huge lesson in empathy, right? Where maybe in the past, I'll tell you from my experience, I'm a generally kind of peppy person, right? I wake up and I'm generally pretty bright-eyed. So I didn't really know what depression felt like. Well, now I've had some moments where I don't want to do anything. I just feel like heavy, and I've been able to, from personal experience, I've been able to grow in empathy for people that have to battle with those feelings on a daily basis, right? And so this I think that's a silver lining, right? Like globally, we are all growing in empathy, and just learning to be show more grace to one another.
Absolutely. I think that's a huge silver lining. And, overdue. I think we get caught up in the race, and so we have to pause and think about others, and everything else becomes noise. And so what it's done, at least for me, my perspectives have changed tremendously with COVID. And that is a silver lining, because exactly what you said, it's not material things are material things, but people are special.
Mm-hmm.
People are special. And so how do we empathize during these times to get through this together?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that reminds me of something that Ricky Murray, our director of marketing and partner relations here at Zpryme, he tells his team, look, take care of yourself. We can replace this position, but we cannot replace you. Well, so I've got one more question for you. What are your go-to practices for building resilience, and how do you encourage your team to take care of themselves? And you kind of touched on that a little bit, but I'm interested in like hearing about your strategies for taking care of yourself and building resilience, and then how you work with your team on that.
Good question. So, for me, building resilience is about reflection. I reflect quite a bit, more so as I got older, and I've learned a lot of lessons through failure and feedback, which are gifts. And I reflect and I learn it, and I believe I'm a better leader because I just learned from what had just happened, either feedback or failure. And that keeps me motivated to become a better person, a better leader. No one's perfect, but you want to make sure that you grow, you continue to grow. And to be resilient, you have to be mindful. You have to be very mindful of others and be self-aware, and your emotional intelligence plays a big role in this kind of resiliency, to understand what is your contribution, what is Marty's contribution and role in different situations. And the more I build that muscle, the better I can provide value to everybody that I interact with, including my family, right? And then the last thing is renewal. How do you renew? That means disconnecting. That means taking breaks. That means reading a book, disconnect from social media, disconnect from news. You have to be thoughtful about your self-care and your renewal so you can come back fresh. And that's part of the resilience component as well. So how do you build that in? And it doesn't have to be a big plan, but plan some throughout the week, and do the same thing with your team. Make sure that you encourage them to disconnect. Hey, have you taken your vacation? Why don't you leave early on Friday? Those little things help so that they feel comfortable stepping away.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much, Marty, for sharing these few moments with us and being willing to open up and talk to me about your personal experience at Cps Energy and strategies that you guys have implemented to help your team, which hopefully is going to help anyone listening in on this interview. And then just to wrap up, let's visualize, we're past COVID-19, and you no longer have to quarantine for 14 days when you travel. So where are you going to go? What's your first vacation?
That's a great question. So I would love to go to Colorado, to the mountains with my husband, and just, where there's no Wi-Fi, where we can truly be disconnected. And that's kind of our plan, is to do a great escape and just enjoy nature and each other, and remove all the noise and just enjoy life. That's kind of what our plan is. Yeah.